So I'll take the bio from the start again. Mr. Femi Ajayi has more than 20 years experience which cuts across manufacturing operations, sales, operations planning, project management, distribution service, and outbound supply chain management and logistics. He has his bachelor's degree from Babcock University and master's degree and MBA from the prestigious Lagos Business School. His experience spans across several companies, including PZ Cousins, GlaxoSmithKline, Procter & Gamble West Africa, P&G. He was the Chief Operating Officer at Alma Stores and Link Up Logistics, which are two of the top 10 distribution companies in West Africa. He's currently the CEO MD of Foremost Redistribution Limited, a company founded to offer distribution services to multinational organizations seeking to get the best in class distribution service provisions within Nigeria, which includes the beverages, food and drinks, and technology, amongst other business interests, cutting across retail, technology, agriculture, and logistics. Mr. Femi Ajayi is passionate about growing leaders and a better Nigeria. Mr. Femi is regularly invited to speak at conferences, educational institutions, and has been featured in reputable media platforms. He has been an advisor to senior government officials and private organizations on creating and implementing a new Nigeria. Mr. Femi Ajayi is a natural optimist and a strong believer in excellence. He loves to travel, to experience new cultures, and to envision how things can be done differently. He strongly believes that 100% is never enough in reaching excellence, and none of us is better than all of us. Praise the Lord. I want to know that this is an entrepreneur par excellence, but also an anointed man of God. I can tell you for free. He's anointed, so he has both the apostolic calling in business, and so I want us our hearts to be open as we invite Pastor Femi Ajayi as he comes to minister to us in demonstration of spirit and power. You're welcome, sir.
Praise the Lord. Thank you very much, Pastor Victor. Good evening, everyone. It's good to be here again. And I would just like to celebrate my father and mother, Olaore. You know, looking at them, they were the ones that actually joined us in marriage, myself and my wife. We went through counseling with them. And while they were speaking, a lot of those things I remember when we were going through counseling with them, I took those notes. I still keep those notes, and when there are issues in the marriage, I bring out those notes, and I still read through them. So just help me celebrate them one more time. I do not take access to this altar also in vain. I would like to celebrate my father in the Lord, Pastor G. We've come a long way. I was just gifting him a lot of things about how he found me from a place. I was a very stubborn boy when Pastor G pulled me out. And I thank God that we are where we are today. So celebrate Pastor G for me also. And of course, Pastor Buki Ajide and Tidebola and the rest of every family of Victory Sanctuary. May God bless all of us in Jesus' name. Well, they read the profile, but I'm just Femi by name. And what I just want to do here is just to open us to the opportunities that actually exist. They call it in the agricultural sector. So you hear agriculture, and what comes to your mind is farming, right? But it's actually beyond that. That's like 5% of the whole value chain, right? It is food systems, really. And I'm not even involved in any form of farming at all, but there are so many elements, we'll look into it now, so many elements in food, all right? So it's called Understanding the Future Trends in Agribusiness and Food Systems. And permit me, I know a lot of us have traveled from different parts of the country and even from outside the country, but I would like to use Lagos State as a case study because there are a lot of things going on in the state currently. And I'm privileged to be a part of some of the things going on, so I can relate to it and I can share some of the experiences. Some of you might be aware of what you'll be seeing. We'll see some videos, we'll see some pictures, and ultimately what we are trying to do is to open up our minds, to see where the opportunities are. There is no way you can tell me that you have nothing to do. I can never accept that thing, that you tell me I can't make money. I have nothing to do. It is an unacceptable statement by God, and at least speaking to me too. Next slide, if the media can help me. No, you've jumped too far. That's pretty much the last slide. So can we go to the very first slide, if you can help me? Media. It starts with, do you know, at the very foundation of Maslow's hierarchy of needs? Okay, so do you know that at the very foundation of Maslow's hierarchy of needs? So the Maslow's hierarchy of needs pretty much talks about three things, right? What are those things? Food, clothing, shelter, right? Some of us have heard of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. If you haven't heard of it, you can go study it up. Those are three things that as humans you all need, right? There is one undeniable truth. Food is a basic human necessity. Now, data for us. Nigeria's food consumption ecosystem is valued at $62 billion annually. So, if you think about the whole value chain, people eat every day. Just imagine, even if you are fasting, probably at the end of that day you should still eat. And what's the population of Nigeria? Rough numbers. 200 million. Let's even use 200 million for the sake. So imagine 200 million people having to spend, what's an average meal per day now for each person? I'm not sure 500 can even get you a proper meal anymore. Can it? It used to be Pastor G. So maybe let's even use 1,000 for the sake of numbers. So 200 million people, even 1,000 can't get you a proper meal. Okay, let's just use that for the sake of numbers. So 1,000 by 200 million people will be how much? How much is that? So 200 million by 1,000, that's 200 billion, right? So that is transaction that has happened in one meal session. So imagine you have to eat 1,000 3 times a day. So you're talking about 600 billion, something of that nature. So you all remember 2020, COVID-19, right? We were all, for you to be here, that means you passed through 2020. Abi? How many of you in 2020 were actually trying to buy a car? You wanted to buy a car during that lockdown, raise your hand. That was your priority then. If you were considering buying a house during lockdown, raise your hand. Okay, if you ate during lockdown, raise your hand. Okay, so actually, in spite of what happened, which was probably of our lifetime, probably the most uncertain time of our lives, there was one thing that remained constant. We still had to eat. We didn't bother about if I had a job. I wasn't interested in whether the company was going to survive or not. I was just interested in living, right? So that is how powerful food can be for us. Next slide, please. So next slide, thank you very much. So look at Lagos State. I told you we're going to try and narrow down into Lagos State. It's one of the world's fastest growing mega cities with a population estimate of 26.7 million people as of 2024. It has a food ecosystem market size of roughly $10 billion, which is about 15 trillion naira annually. It is the smallest state in terms of the size, right, by landmass. However, it is the highest in terms of per capita consumption of food. What do you understand by per capita consumption of food? So imagine the average Lagosian that would eat a meal or go to shop, the amount of money they will have to take with them to shop is the highest you'll find in any part of the country. So you might find the average Lagosian having to go shopping with, say, 10,000, just for the sake of numbers. You would, on the average, other parts of the country wouldn't have to go with up to 10,000 to shop. So there is the opportunity there as much as the challenges there. It is characterized with a lot of inefficiencies. There are a lot of things that are just absolutely wrong with the market system. But ultimately what happens is that where there are problems, there lies in opportunities. I tell people, wherever you find people complaining, that is where there is an opportunity. That is always where there is an opportunity. Don't go to a place where everything is perfect. There is no opportunity there. Where you go to and you hear people complaining, don't join them to complain. Ask yourself, what can I do to solve this problem? Because if you can solve the problem, there you have an opportunity to make money because you are providing solution. So, I've told you agriculture or agribusiness, whatever you have to call it, is beyond farming. Just detox your mind from thinking of farmers. No. There is the technology part in food systems. There is the distribution part. There is the warehousing part. There is the cold chain storage part. There is the processing part. There are banks that are just focused on just farming. How many of you have heard of BOA here? BOA. What does it mean? Bank of Agriculture. People working there, what sector would they say they are in? Agric. But are they farmers? So remember, there is always opportunity. Let's go to the next slide, please. Right, so I'll just quickly take you through some quick fact sheet here. This is fish. I believe we all eat fish, right? It's not part of what Dr. Chidi said we shouldn't eat. Fish, the current production in Lagos. These are Lagos fact sheets, right? So you have about 174,000 tons per annum production. But then the demand is about 374,000. So there's about 200,000 tons per annum gap. What it means is, when you think about prices of things going up, you must have heard of forces of supply and demand. If you want prices of things to come down, all you have to do is produce enough to meet the demand, and then prices come down, right? So once demand and supply at an equilibrium where the supply is lower than demand, then the prices will have to be high. Anywhere in the world, it's not rocket science. So for Lagos, we are less than 50% sufficiency. You can see some investment opportunities there for us in fish. Let's go to rice. I'm sure some of you have even eaten rice today, right? So if you go to rice, look at the demand of rice, 4.2 million tons per annum. The production capacity is 64,000 tons. That is almost nothing. You must have heard of a mill. There's a rice mill somewhere in Ikorodu, in Imota. It's called the Imota Rice Mill. It's supposed to help to close this gap. But even with that mill, it can't even still help to totally eliminate this, but at least to go a long way in helping. The point is, there is so much opportunity. So if you have any part to play along the value chain of rice, the federal government recently had to lift the ban. I'm sure you are aware that there was a time from Buhari's tenure, there was a ban on imported rice, right? And that was when the prices of rice shot up from about 8,000 naira per bag to about 120,000 naira. The idea from that government was to say, let us encourage the local farmers so that by the time we shut the importation, the local farmers would be encouraged to produce more and then they can meet the demand. What they didn't take into consideration was that you need to build capacity first before you try to fix something that you must first make sure, do we really have the people? And then, unfortunately, our people, as usual, took advantage of it. Instead of them to just try to sell it at the right price, some of them were selling at 10 times the price. I know some of these companies that were into rice, and trust me, they were making a killing during that period. So there's still a problem in rice till today that has to be fixed. Next slide, please. Next slide, poultry, meat, and eggs. So when you think about meat, that's the poultry meat or eggs, there is a gap there too. A gap of about, there is 188,000 gap for broilers and about 600 tons per annum for eggs. So if you have the poultry today, I'm sure most times when you see poultry, you just see about, if you have 1,000 chickens, you believe you have a poultry, right? That's even not scratching the surface. It's not even helping to solve anything. Anything you're going to do, find how can it really solve a problem. Yeah, I understand it will bring in some money to the pocket, but really, for us to close these gaps, we need to begin to do things at a more commercial scale. Red meat or beef, we have been told not to eat it. However, in Lagos are the biggest consumers of red meat or beef. On an average, on a daily basis, there are 3,000 cattle that are slaughtered in Lagos every day. And That is even what you call constrained demand. That is what is able to come into Lagos. If they could get 5,000, all 5,000 would have still been consumed, right? And it just keeps going and going and going on like that. Let's go to the next one, tomatoes. Tomatoes gap is about 670,000 tons per annum. In other words, there is literally nothing we are doing in tomatoes. 5% sufficiency. Cassava, we take gari, we use other things, and the rest. Cassava's gap is about 9 million tons per annum. That's the production gap in cassava. I'm telling you all of this so that you can begin to open up your mind to see where you can even take advantage of this opportunity. These opportunities are real fact numbers. They are not theory. They are data that have been gathered over a period of time. Coconut. If we look at coconut also, coconut is actually an interesting product because it has a potential to be exported. You can export even the shell of the coconut. Every item in a coconut has value. Every single thing in a coconut, from the shell to the milk to whatever you call it, has exportable value. The question is, how are you harnessing this opportunity? So look at the gap there. At least in Lagos, there's still up to 200,000 tons per annum gap in coconut. Maize. Maize too has a big gap, 471,000 tons per annum gap. All these numbers you can see have billion naira estimation of transaction that has been calculated by it. And the final one will be yam in terms of the fact sheet we're looking at. Yam, we pretty much don't do anything in yam. And you can see it's about 250,000 tons per annum gap in yam. So the question is, what are you doing to solve this problem? So let's ask ourselves, where are the opportunities? The first one we'll be looking at in terms of the opportunities is what you call the hydroponics. So you might have heard, this is now technology, right? We are used to the conventional, get a seed, plant it in the ground, water it, yes, that will still work. But there are ways now that you can do things without necessarily have to get a ground to put it in. So hydroponics is simply about working on putting seeds or fruits, whatever it is, on a kind of layer. I can actually put it on my roof in my house, water it, and the things will begin to grow. There's actually a project here in Lekki Phase 1 that is running that. There's a Farm Fort Greenhouse project. Now, these things are used to help us ensure that we do not experience what you call seasonalities. One of the biggest challenges is that you have times of the year where there is more food than the others. And then you want to buy plantain. They tell you plantain for a bunch is now 10,000. Go back 6 months' time, you can buy the same plantain for 2,000. Why can't we find ourselves in such a system that come rain, come shine, December, whatever, I can still get that product for that same price? That is the level that some countries are in, and that's the level Nigeria has to get to. So there is that opportunity in hydroponics. Let's move to number 2, agro-processing and value addition. So for this, think about it. Every time you have a raw material, you're actually not adding value. The real money comes in adding value to anything. Take, for example, Nigeria. Nigeria has always been producing crude oil for how many years now? But our problem was we never had the refining capacity. Not until a private man came up and they still fought him, right? To build a refinery. Look, there's a difference between having that raw material and having the finished product. It totally transforms the way you are being perceived, even in the global audience. They laugh at you when you are just a raw material. They just take from you and dump on you anything. So we have to become a producing country. We have to actually convert things. Stop just planting, harvest, and just sell. Find what you can do with that thing. Convert it to something, and that is where the real value is. Converting it, that is the real value addition. Okay? So think about anything you are doing today. Ask yourself, how can I convert this into a real value addition? Okay, let's go to number 3. So number 3 is food supply chain and logistics development. So this one is about efficient systems for storage, for transportation. So in anything you're doing, one of the biggest challenges we have around the country, but especially in Lagos State, is that if you load a truck from, say, Kebbi State, bringing food to Lagos, by the time it arrives in Lagos, 40% of the product in that truck is damaged, spoiled, gone, because there is no real storage or preservation, right? So what do you think happens? The man that bought that product for 1 million from Kebbi and was supposed to bring 100 to Lagos, at 1 million for 100, he was targeting to sell them at 10,000, right? Now, if 40 of those have been damaged along the way, and he can only come with 60, what do you think he will do? He will have to inflate his price and spread that 1 million over the remaining 60 that is still available to sell, right? So you are paying for a problem you didn't cause, but at the same time, you can't blame the seller. So it is a problem along the value chain that must be solved. So for us to be able to get food even cheaper, the way we transport them is very important. The way we warehouse them, everything we do along that value chain is very critical. And so we'll look at some of the things that are already going on. So we have investments in cold storage facilities that are currently going on and refrigerated warehouses, right? And then there are also investments in what you call CNG power trucks. You've heard of CNG, right? Compressed natural gas. So CNG is a substitute for fuel, so diesel, petrol, and the rest of them. CNG gives you 50% savings, up to 50% savings versus using diesel if you have to power any of your items, be it a truck and what have you. So when you are using a diesel power truck and you have to transport your product, the cost of that product versus the products that will be transported with CNG will be almost half, right? So we have a project that we're currently running. That some of you might have seen it on TV or in the papers or online. It's called Produce for Lagos Project. Now, what this project is simply doing is to try to close these gaps that we've been talking about here. So there are lots of states that are being worked with, we're working with. There are trucks, so you can see, okay, the picture is there. Those trucks are all brand new. They're all CNG powered. And what they do, they're actually refrigerated. So have you ever seen a refrigerated truck? Like a cold truck. So it's like a fridge, a big 40-tonner, and then it's a fridge. You can't even sit in it. Okay, so these are examples of trucks. The governor himself launched it, and there were about 6 other governors from other parts of the country that joined. 4 federal ministers also came in to join. The project is a game changer, right? It's supposed to help not only Lagos State, but the whole Nigeria to change the way we actually produce. So we want to produce for Lagos, within Lagos, and from outside of Lagos too. So what we're trying to do is to raise 500 billion naira, right? 500 billion naira. One of the biggest issues you would hear is that for farmers, when they have their harvest, they will now have to wait for somebody to buy from them, and then they buy it on credit, and then they don't even get their money on time. So the idea of the money is to have what you call guaranteed funds, off-takers funds. So they can get it, and as they get it, they get paid for it, and the products are given to them, and we encourage them like that. So it's a big project, and you can go online, check on it, and read up about it. But these are some of the things that the state is doing to try to encourage all of us, be it you're a Lagosian or you're from outside the state, we can all benefit from it. Next slide, please. There's a video clip from the next slide. I think we could just take that about...
In cold room facilities. The hub aims to streamline food deliveries by supplying bulk orders to various markets across Lagos State.
So anything you buy between the logistics hub and the middle level market should have a 20% reduction in price. And I think this will be the attraction for the market operators to join the change.
Having a more reliable stockpile not only helps local consumers, but the farmers who supply the food as well.
With the advent of the central logistic hub, which I have regarded as a game changer, people like us who are in the poultry business will also see it as a prospect, for a greater
warehouse system for dry food
Okay.
and be able to.
Thank you very much. So that was just something on CNN Connecting Africa about the project. Now, let's talk about the Lagos State Central Food Logistics Hub. So there's a place in Ekpe. They're building a massive logistics hub. It's about half the size of Lekki Phase 1. What that hub would do is that it would hold everything the state needs for at least 90 days. So in other words, even if the state was not getting in any form of food, for 90 days, the state will still be sufficient. Another thing that will be done in the whole project is that while we are not going against the likes of K2 market, the traditional open market, there will be a new model kind of market. How would it be for you? Imagine the typical open market for you is how you've been to ShopRite, right? You've been to your typical modern trade stores. You have to you walk in, and that is your open market. That is where you can buy your meat. That's where you can buy your tomatoes. That's where you can buy your yam in the kind of ShopRite setting. Why must we be trying to haggle? Have you been to any of those, our typical open markets before? How many of you have been to Mile 12 here? Mile 12. Thank you. You know, some of you don't know Mile 12. The men are just looking. You know Mushi? You know Mushi Market? Agege? What other market do you know? Oshodi? Balogun? But when you talk of fresh food markets, what kind of markets do you remember? Mile 12, K2, right? Have you gone there and can you wear, let's assume, let's just be frank here. Can you wear your white native and say you want to go to Mile 12? The day you are going to Mile 12, you know you are going for war. You go with rain boots or, But why? You just want to go to shop for food. Why must it become like, I'm going to war? Why must it become like I'm going and by the time I'm back, I'm looking like somebody that was just brought down from under a cave? You can go looking fresh, come back home and still look nice. Why should shopping for the food you want to eat be like you are going to excavate something? No. So we're trying to change that mentality, right? So the idea is when you have this food hub built, there will be other multi-level markets across the state. In the long run, there will be 60 of them that will be built, okay? And there will be trucks. So you saw some of the trucks in some of the pictures we saw. There are bigger trucks that bring them from outside of Lagos into Lagos. Then there are smaller trucks that transport them within Lagos, right? And then you have what you call the last mile trucks. So you even have trucks that will move the product from what we call a multi-level market. So multi-level markets are like the ShopRite kind of market we're talking about. You can walk in there, you do your shopping. So imagine a hotel ordering for some fresh food now. You can just take a 2-tonner truck, load their orders, and take it to them, right? So there are so many things that can be done. So upon completion, the hub is expected to support over 5 million traders in the agricultural value chain. It will ensure uninterrupted food supply to more than 10 million Lagos residents for at least 90 days, even during periods of scarcity. And by the way, it's been modeled after the Rungis food market in France. I don't know how many of us have heard about this Rungis food market, R-U-N-G-I-S. It's somewhere in Paris. It's the biggest food market in the world. I think we can see a video of it now. Can you, media, help us to just...
7 kilometers to the south of Paris lies Rungis Fresh Produce Market, the largest of its kind in the world. It covers a whopping 230 hectares. That's bigger than the Principality of Monaco. A maze of streets, 200 buildings arranged according to category. The seafood centre alone stretches across an area the size of 4 football pitches. A convoy of lorries starts building at midnight. Wholesalers unload their goods in the storage areas of each pavilion. Around 2 a.m. the buyers gather. Shops and restaurant owners make their purchases at the producer's floor at the centre of the pavilion. There are no prices displayed. It all takes place by negotiation. At the railway terminal, the flow of raw materials is managed. They're sent to storage buildings or ripening warehouses. 3 million tons of goods were sold in 2017, and turnover was more than 9 billion euros. Raji's market is like a small city. 12,000 people work there. There are 1,200 businesses, 17 restaurants, banks, a pharmacy, a police station, a post office, medical centre and hotels. Like all cities, Raji's generates waste. Part of it is recycled into compost, part is incinerated, producing energy for the market complex, for homes and nearby Paris or the international airport.
Thank you. So you've seen that, right? When the Lagos hub is ready, that's exactly what it will be like. Even better, the better version of what you just saw. So you had the pharmacies, you had there will be filling stations there, there will be a city, a play area. It is literally going to be that plus more. So you can imagine. So you had better key into it and go see how you can play a part in it. All right? Let's see what the Lagos own looks like. Let's see the video of what the Ekpe Mega Food Hub looks like currently. Yes. Thank you. Let's cut the video short. Thank you very much. So you get the idea, right? So you see, this is actually happening live. It's not still in ideation stage. It will be going live. I think we'll go through the first phase by September, and maybe by November, things will really start coming out of it. So don't just sit down at home and think nothing is happening around you. Things are actually happening around you. Let's look at other opportunities. How can we actually modernize and expand our urban food markets? So we've talked about markets like Oyingbo, Mile 12. So imagine you redevelop those existing markets. The people there are not animals. They wish to have better living standards. So imagine we can create a system in place where there is modern storage facilities, highly sanitized area, digital payment solutions. Why must I be haggling with cash? You see some notes and you're thinking, who can touch this? You're using your hand sanitizer to touch the Naira notes because it looks almost totally mutilated, right? So we can look at it and say, how can we help to modernize this? We can also create urban food gardens within city parks and schools for communities' food access. So ask yourself, are there areas, even within my neighborhood, within my community, that you can create urban food gardens? These are concepts that you have to think out of the box for. Don't be limited to where we are very more used to. Dangote could have thought there can't be a refinery in Nigeria because we've pretty much grown up for 40 years without seeing our refineries work. But then he believed it was possible, and in spite of the challenges, he still broke the barriers. So, an example is the Mile 12 Market Redevelopment Plan. So there's a plan to actually redevelop Mile 12. We'll have cold chain logistics there. We'll have cold storage areas there. It will be like, I've talked about ShopRite. That's probably the best way I can explain it to you, okay? But it will really be something like that. And then we'll have more of things like that coming up across the city. There are other parts of the city. There will actually be 60 of things like that across the city by the time it's all done. It's not going to happen in this year. It could take 5 years. But at least, step by step, you start seeing it work. You start seeing actions. You start seeing progress. And these are some of the things that the government can play their part. The private sector will play their part. So, for example, I'm a private sector player. I'm not part of the government, right? I'm a private sector player, but we are in partnership with the government in making these kind of things work. Now, everybody else here, you are either with the government or you're with private sector, right? Even if you are a student, you still have value you can add, even as a student. There's so many things, just absolutely limitless opportunities. Sometimes I just wonder, like, what is going on? Why can't people see this thing, right? So, next slide. This next slide is just looking at what the model looks like, just for us to even be clear on what is all these things we are seeing. So the idea is to have a simple, very simple, but funny enough, the simplest things happen to be the most complicated things to execute. So is it not very simple to just assume you can bring these products out from wherever it's coming from Kebbi, Niger, Taraba, Nasarawa, imagine any of those are states, from Cross River, from Akwa Ibom, you bring them down, they come into where you call an aggregation center. So there will be a place, of course, yam will come from one place, plantain will come from somewhere else, tomatoes will come from somewhere else, right? You need to gather them all in one place, right? So that is where we call the aggregation center. They come into the aggregation center. So there's an opportunity there also. You can actually begin to think about investing in aggregation centers. Then when it sits in an aggregation center, there's what they call a quality assurance process. So they will be checked. Are they qualified, right? We don't just want to let any kind of food just find its way into the market. So is it qualified? So that's another opportunity because we'll be looking out for people with the competence and qualification of QC, QA, right? Now, these people are going to ensure that those foods have qualified and have met all the required targets. Now, the trucks will move them. We've talked about the number of trucks. We're looking at about 1,500 CNG powered trucks. Some will be CNG, some will be LPG. We already have 150 in-house, and we're getting more. Before the end of next month, there will be another 100 that would have joined those 150. So there will be a lot happening there. These trucks, there will be a need for, one of the issues we currently have is we've been trying to recruit for what we call an operations manager that has cold chain logistics competence. And trust me, it's one of the hardest things to find in this country. A lot of people would say they do, but by the time you interview them, you'll see that they don't. So how can you already begin to build your competence in that? Trust me, that job is waiting for people now. There are so many jobs, even to have drivers, because it's not the kind of driver that drives the typical diesel-powered truck that can drive the CNG-powered trucks. So we're even looking for drivers, qualified, trained drivers that can drive those. There is so much along the value chain. You don't need to be a farmer. Now, when it comes into the States, we've seen the hub. It will then be moved into all the multi-level markets. From there, the sales can happen. Now, let's look at what the mid-level market will look like. There's a video that shows the first one, which is in Mushi. This one is in Mushi, and it has gone live, even though it doesn't run 5 days, or it doesn't run all week yet. It just does about 2 days a week for now. But what it does is that the government subsidizes the cost by ensuring that the cost of purchasing from there is about 12. How many of you have been to this Mushi food hub? Anybody here? You have? Okay. Did you really get a discounted price? You got it? All right. Any other person? So no other person. So you know things are happening around you. So you can go to a place and buy items at 25% cheaper than the typical open market price. Now, what the government has done is to say, let us make this cheaper for our people. So you don't even go with cash. You go with cash, but you don't buy with cash. So there's a point, what you're seeing here, where you would have to get a voucher, all right? So if you want to spend 20,000, for example, you'll be given a voucher of 20,000, and then you can go into the main hall, which is somewhere like this, and then you have those packs. So these people are the sellers. They are the owners of their items. So you can also even find your products coming in here, right? So they go in there, they get their tags, they go in to shop, and then they pick. Very neat, very okay place. You don't have to go through the typical concept of the Mile 12 Oyingbo kind of place. So you do your shopping, you even have trolleys, carts, you push it, and you can go home after the shopping. This is actually happening live already in the States. And there are so many other states that are trying to reapply this. For example, Ogun State is actually looking at running something like this also, or your state too. So pretty much the whole Southwest, I think the governor presented this project to them in their Southwest Governors Forum. And all of them bought into the vision. Now, we don't know when they would kick it off themselves, but at least they were all interested because they wanted a presentation made to themselves, to them, in their states. So this is something that should be reapplied in every state. And it's a very simple thing. We work with banks. So you go, you spend your money, and you go home. There's no hassle, nobody will even know you've gone to any place to shop. It can be that straightforward, right? Okay, thank you very much. We go to the final one, and we look at where the opportunities are. Agri-tourism ventures. So think about it. How can you combine agriculture with tourism? You can actually. There are some countries, for example, South Africa, people would actually fly to South Africa to go experience what you call agritourism. So there's a place in South Africa, in Cape Town, it's called the Stellenbosch Winery. I've been there. People actually pay. You would pay to come in. What you're just coming to see are berries. You're seeing items that are being grown, the process of how they are being grown. And then, it's a full ecosystem on its own. You can stay in a hotel there. You can go up on, what they call these things. There are lots of things you can do there. And it generated for them about $1.4 billion as of last year's data. We have something close to that in Lagos here. It's called the Omu Resort, but that's still something that is going through its own skeletal stage. But you can come up with new ideas. You can create something new. Farm tourism is something, agritourism is something that is just a new concept. People are beginning to get a grip of it, understand how it works. And then ultimately, you can have food festivals. On an annual basis, there is a food festival that holds in Kofa Bayome. There's a roundabout by the Kofa Bayome junction here on the island. On an annual basis, it holds around July, August, September. And it's always a very big thing. People come, they would have their foods displayed, and you'll see a lot of sales being made. Sales that you might not make for probably 2 months. You can make it within 6 hours just by being there. So look out for these kind of things. Find how it's being done. And you don't even need to work with the government. Just create the private sector-led initiatives. There is a lot that happens in the private sector. Government is just supposed to help with policies and all of that. But government can't even drive all of this commerce that we're talking about. It has to come from we, the people ourselves, right? I think finally will be a small video that just shows the whole background of what this concept in Lagos is all about. So if you can just watch that, thank you.
4 million people. Experts say the population could rise to 40 million by 2050. Feeding this growing city is no walk in the park, making Lagos the biggest food market in sub-Saharan Africa with food transactions worth over 5 trillion naira every year. But Lagos faces a problem. As the city grows, climate change shrinks available land, making it harder to grow enough food. And with this increase in population, the current food system is struggling to keep up. Right now, there are over 400 markets in Lagos, but these markets are messy, causing traffic jams, food waste, and even health risks. It's clear that Lagos needs to change how it handles its food system. Concerned by these threatening challenges, Origin Tech Group, a knowledge-based and practical solution-driven leader in engineering design and construction, agri-tech and food systems that has been transforming the agricultural and livestock value chain in West Africa over the past 25 years, has been aligning with various state governments in solving these challenges. a notable partnership with the Lagos State Ministry of Agriculture and Food Systems under the 5-year agricultural roadmap, which aims to increase food production and self-sufficiency from 18% to 40%.
We are on the right path of enhancing food production, which will lead to us attaining the goal of meeting 40% of the state food requirement by the year 2027.
The plan is to help Lagos grow more of its own food and improve food management across neighboring communities within its sphere and beyond, enhance market access, reduce post-harvest losses, and guarantee food storage, and invariably improve the living conditions of farmers and general economic value. The heart of this plan is the Lagos Central Food Security System and Logistics Hub, also known as the LHP Hub. This hub, located in Egbe-Ereyun, is more than just a market. It is a food logistics and processing powerhouse. Here, food is stored, repackaged, and distributed to markets across the city efficiently. This plan is spearheaded by the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Systems of the Lagos State Government, with innovative partners like Origin Tech Group and REMA Projects in ensuring a high standard of quality and efficiency. Designed to sit on over 1.2 million square meters of land, some of the key features of the LHP Hub will include aggregation of storage facilities, administration offices, trade and brokerage facilities, packaging facilities, processing facilities, cold chain and dry goods services, logistics services, 7-trailer park, water treatment plant, health center, fuel and fire stations, abattoir, amongst few others. Upon completion, the hub is estimated to provide direct income to more than 5 million traders in the agricultural value chain, while also ensuring uninterrupted food supply to Lagosians for a minimum of 90 days in times of scarcity. Multiple modern efficient hubs and a replica of the MLM Idioro Mushi across every local community in Lagos. Even as mid-level markets, MLMs are presently under construction across multiple zones. The MLMs are smaller agricultural produce modern markets for wholesalers and retailers in these local communities to access fresh foods directly, faster and affordably cheaper. The MLM Mushi Idioro, which currently operates twice a week, is already running. This is largely due to the competitive edge as one of the most affordable and organized fresh food markets in Lagos, with thousands of people visiting to buy fresh produce at affordable prices. Imagine a whopping 7,500 consumers on one single day patronage. This isn't just about food. Over 5 million people, farmers, traders, and market women rely on this new system to help them grow their businesses and access credit, which means more jobs and economic growth for Lagos. For investors, it's a game changer. With reliable data about food supply and demand, investing in Lagos food system is safer and more profitable than ever before. But the biggest benefit? Affordable, safe, and nutritious food for every Lagosian. With less waste and better distribution, food prices are lower and everyone has access to fresh produce. This project is also helping to reduce traffic jams, lower carbon emissions, and make Lagos cleaner. With the Lagos Central Food Security Hub and the growing network of mid-level markets, Lagos is building the future of food. The Lagos Food Security System and Logistics Hub is more than just an idea. It is the missing link in Nigeria's food system.
Thank you. Thank you. So the future of agribusiness is now. Let's cultivate resilience, innovation, and prosperity together. Thank you, everyone. God bless you all.
Let's put it together for Mr. Femi Ajayi. I think we can take 1 or 2 questions just so we can wrap up the session. We have a question that is urgent you want him to just answer. Just 2 persons. Anyone like that? Questions? Maybe you want more clarification on the presentation? Going? going. Okay, 1 and 2. Please quickly. 1 minute each. Quickly.
Okay, thank you. How do we key into the Ekpe model market? How do we key into the Ekpe model market? The project?
How do we key into the Ekpe hub, right?
Yes.
So it will be, there's what you call a B2B, business to business kind of aggregation. So whatever you know you can do, right? Begin to check online. Very soon, there will be a time when there will be a portal opened for people that can come together, and there will be different opportunities. So even those opportunities will be advertised, okay, online. And then you'll see what it will be. But again, as I said, you have to have the capacity and the competence too. So it won't be by sentiments, for the sake of better word. So if you know there's something you are competent in, we'll be able to have you work in it. It won't be a place where you have 1,000 people, but you can have an aggregation of maybe a big bulk of a team working under one project. So you have different things there. You have those that are into distribution there. You have those that are into storage. You have those that are into processing. Even filling stations will be there. There will be every kind of thing that will be there. So you'll get to know about it because it will be coming on online very soon.
What about the website? How do we get it online? Is it just normal random advert or what?
The website.
Yes.
Well, so if you want to check for the website today, you can go to www.produceforlagos.com. So produceforlagos.com, you'll see things about it, but you won't see the portal open yet there.
All right, thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Okay, so the second person was the same question. So I can leave him for one more person. One more question. Madam? Okay, so I think we can. Thank you, sir. Yes. Let's put our hands together one more time for Mr. Femi Ajayi. Question? Okay. We'll take this one and we'll wrap up for the day.
Good evening, everybody. It's not a question per se. I just want to. The volume is so low. I just want to speak to the youths in-house. It's so sad that many people come for a program like this, and you see them just loitering all around. And this kind of presentation is delivered, and many are not here. So sometimes I wonder why you have to travel all the way. I'm saying this so that maybe some of you that are related to them by mere, outreach, whatever, you can speak to them. That the essence of coming to gathering like this is to gain insight and help them build their future. And this speaks to even those of us sitting down, what have you been able to put together? Because this is reality. So there are money all around, but you don't see them because you don't open your eyes to where they are. And sometimes you think you have to suit up all the time to make that money. You don't have to. With modern technology, you can make quite a lot. And this is one of them that has just been delivered. I hope this speaks to most of us. But the painful part is the way people just move around as if they only come here to socialize. And it's pathetic, and it calls for worry for me.